WorldView Today. Crisis in South Asia. Escalates to brink of nuclear conflict. In the heart of a volatile South Asia, a blood-soaked terrorist attack in Pahagam has unleashed a chain of events, sparking unprecedented fear and chaos. The gunfire in Kashmir was merely the prelude to a nightmare the world dreads, the Spectre of Nuclear War. India's Air Force has launched massive military drills, showcasing overwhelming might, while Pakistan has placed its nuclear forces on high alert. Every move, every command, now feels like a high-stakes gamble, with one spark capable of turning South Asia into a wasteland. Tensions are soaring, and the Indus River, once a lifeline shared by these nations, has become a weapon in the hands of those in power. The international community is in panic, with the United Nations convening an emergency session. Global powers are racing against time to avert catastrophe. Tonight, WorldView Today traces the roots of this crisis, uncovers the secrets behind the diplomatic smokescreen, and confronts the chilling question: can humanity survive this self-inflicted darkness? Stay with us as we unpack this unfolding crisis. Good evening and welcome to WorldView Today. The escalating tensions between India and Pakistan have reached alarming levels following the gruesome terrorist attack in Pahagam. Chaos engulfs the region, and one question looms large. Is this the spark that could ignite an all-out war? India has swiftly accused Pakistan of orchestrating the attack, prompting its Air Force to conduct large-scale exercises to demonstrate its military dominance. Bilateral relations between the two nations have all but collapsed across every front. At this juncture, military strength takes a backseat to the reality that a single misstep could unleash a devastating inferno. Both India and Pakistan possess nuclear arsenals, making any conflict a potential global nightmare. As anticipated, clashes erupted on Friday, April 25th, along the Line of Control, LOC, in the disputed Kashmir region. Forces from both sides exchanged direct fire, escalating an already volatile situation. To provide context, Kashmir has been divided since 1947, when India and Pakistan gained independence. Both nations claim the entire territory, but each controls only a portion. The flames of animosity in Kashmir now threaten to engulf all of South Asia. Indian military sources confirmed to WorldView Today that Pakistan initiated the latest gunfire. Meanwhile, a Pakistani official in Pakistan-administered Kashmir, speaking to AFP, acknowledged the skirmish, but declined to specify which side fired first, emphasizing that no civilian targets were hit. The exact location of the clash along the LOC remains unclear. Separately, WorldView Today's correspondent in Indian-administered Kashmir, reporting from Beniora, confirmed a distinct clash that left at least 2 people injured. While neither side has definitively claimed responsibility for starting the violence, the atmosphere in the disputed region is a powder keg awaiting a spark. The United Nations has swiftly intervened, with spokesperson Stéphane Dujarric urging both India and Pakistan to exercise maximum restraint and resolve disputes peacefully through bilateral dialogue. The crisis traces back to a brutal attack on April 22, 2025, at the Pahagam resort. A mass shooting targeting tourists ignited New Delhi's fury, leading to a rapid deterioration in India-Pakistan relations, with diplomatic ties effectively severed by April 23. The warlike atmosphere now weighs heavily across South Asia. In a dramatic escalation, India has suspended its water-sharing agreement with Pakistan until Islamabad takes concrete steps to halt cross-border terrorism. This move, seen as gravely serious, has pushed bilateral relations to the brink. Reports from the scene indicate 26 civilians were killed in the Pahagam attack. Local Indian media, citing DW, reported that 5 to 6 gunmen fired for approximately 10 minutes across 3 locations in the Baran Pahagam meadows. Emerging from dense forests with rifles, the attackers reportedly demanded victims recite Quranic verses, executing those who could not comply. Outraged, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi vowed to hunt down and punish those responsible, declaring, No one will escape justice. In response, Pakistan's Foreign Minister, Ishaq Dar, challenged India to provide evidence of Pakistan's involvement and warned that blocking water access would be considered an act of war. On April 24th, Prime Minister Modi convened an emergency meeting of India's Cabinet Committee on Security in New Delhi. Every action now risks triggering a full-scale war. Following the Pahagam massacre, India abandoned restraint, suspending the historic Indus Water Treaty, which has prevented catastrophe for decades. India also closed the Wagah border and tightened visa issuance for Pakistani citizens. Pakistan retaliated, with Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif's office issuing a stark warning. Any attempt to divert the Indus River's flow would be treated as an act of war. Signed in 1960 with World Bank mediation, the Indus Water Treaty allocates the Sutli, Beas, and Ravi rivers to India and the Indus, Jhelum, and Chenab to Pakistan. Experts warn that India's suspension of the treaty is a dangerous escalation. Pakistani international law expert Osama Malik told DW that while the treaty may be outdated, it remains binding, even in wartime. With water now weaponized, the question looms: can war be avoided? Amid global shock over the treaty's suspension, India doubled down with a massive Air Force exercise, Operation Akraman, in direct response to the Pahagam attack and rising tensions. Far from routine, Acriman involved advanced assets like Rafale and Su-30 MKI fighters, Akash and BrahMos missile systems, and S-400 air defenses. Simulating deep strikes and precision bombing in mountainous terrain, the operation mobilized forces from bases across India, including its eastern regions, in a show of force unseen since the 2019 Balakot airstrikes. According to India Today, Rafale jets conducted long-range strike missions mimicking real combat scenarios. Overseen by top Indian generals, the operation signaled New Delhi's readiness for any scenario, including all-out war. The Indian Navy also joined the fray, with the guided missile destroyer INS Surat successfully testing a medium-range surface-to-air missile in the Arabian Sea. A clear message following Pakistan's announcement of a surface-to-surface missile test in the same region. Pakistan's military responded swiftly, entering a state of high combat readiness. Reports indicate Pakistani Air Force jets were urgently redeployed to strategic bases near Lahore and Rawalpindi. Radar imagery from Sri Lanka captured Pakistani aircraft scrambling from Karachi to northern bases. Pakistan's Defense Minister, Khawaja Asif, issued a chilling warning. The world should be concerned about the risk of all-out conflict between India and Pakistan. With two nuclear-armed nations on the brink, the question is no longer if war will erupt, but when. In an interview with Sky News, Asif admitted the situation could easily spiral into total war. Pakistan has since ordered its forces to take cover in strategic bunkers along the border, with Rangers and border action teams deployed to bolster defenses. Military medical units in Sindh are conducting drills to prepare for mass casualties, signaling Pakistan's full mobilization for potential war. Meanwhile, India's elite pilots and fighter jets continue their massive Akraman drills, openly showcasing its military prowess. Satellite imagery revealing unusual movements of military units and aircraft along the LOC has sent shockwaves through the international community. On April 27th, UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres called an Emergency Security Council meeting in New York, warning that further escalation could spell disaster not only for the region but for the world. Shortly after, reports confirmed Pakistan had elevated its nuclear forces to the highest alert level. Sources in Islamabad revealed that Pakistan's Strategic Forces Command moved warheads from secure storage to mobile launchers, deploying medium-range ballistic missiles like Shaheen and Gauri near the border. Emergency communication channels with Beijing and Moscow were activated to seek diplomatic support. India countered by placing its Strategic Forces Command on high alert, with Agni missiles ready for launch if needed. The Times of India, citing an anonymous defense source, noted India's no first-use policy, but emphasized its readiness for immediate retaliation. Global markets are in turmoil, defense stocks are surging, and the world holds its breath. One miscalculation could turn South Asia into a nuclear wasteland. As the specter of nuclear war looms, global powers are stepping in. On April 27th, the White House issued an urgent statement from the U.S. president calling for maximum restraint and a return to negotiations. The U.S. deployed crisis experts to the UN and elevated its strategic command's alert level. China's foreign ministry, in an unscheduled briefing, expressed deep concern and offered to mediate, while increasing military patrols near India's borders in Tibet and Xinjiang. Russia, meanwhile, demanded both nations adhere to international nuclear and security commitments, placing its Black Sea Fleet on standby for potential humanitarian missions. Diplomatic channels are buzzing, with the U.S., China, and Russia engaging directly with New Delhi and Islamabad. Reports suggest the U.S. is quietly offering security guarantees to de-escalate tensions. Western intelligence agencies warn that nuclear missile movements in both nations heighten the risk of a catastrophic miscalculation. The world is racing against time to prevent disaster. To understand why South Asia teeters on the edge, we must rewind over 70 years. In 1947, Britain's withdrawal from India, under pressure from independence movements, left a blood-stained legacy. The partition of India and Pakistan ignited the Kashmir conflict, a beautiful Himalayan region claimed by both nations. Ruled by a Hindu king, but predominantly Muslim, Kashmir sparked the First India-Pakistan War in 1947-48, splitting the region into Indian and Pakistani-administered zones. The animosity never faded. In 1965, Pakistan's Operation Gibraltar aimed to incite rebellion in Kashmir, prompting India's full-scale military response. The war ended with the Soviet-mediated Tashkent Agreement, but tensions persisted. In 1971, India's support for Bangladesh's independence during Pakistan's civil war led to Pakistan's humiliating defeat and Bangladesh's creation, deepening the rivalry. In 1999, the Kargil War saw Pakistani forces, disguised as militia, seize strategic peaks, only to be repelled by India's Operation Vijay, the first direct conflict between two nuclear-armed states. Since 2000, smaller clashes, including the 2008 Mumbai attacks and the 2019 Pulwama attack, have kept tensions simmering. Both nations possess hundreds of nuclear warheads, with India adhering to a no-first-use policy and Pakistan reserving the right to use tactical nuclear weapons. 7 decades, 4 major wars, and countless skirmishes have yielded no lasting peace. Today, experts warn that another India-Pakistan war could engulf the world in chaos. As South Asia chokes in a deadly atmosphere, the U.S. has launched a bold diplomatic offensive. At the UN Security Council, the U.S. declared it cannot allow two nuclear powers to descend into a war of annihilation. Operation South Asia Shield proposes a 3-phase plan: an immediate ceasefire along the LOC under international supervision, a temporary demilitarized zone in Kashmir monitored by the U.S., UN, and neutral nations, and multilateral peace talks with U.S.-backed security guarantees. To pressure both sides, the U.S. has deployed the USS Nimitz and 7th Fleet to the Indian Ocean and raised its strategic command to DEFCON 3. The U.S. President has personally urged Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Sharif to avoid nuclear escalation, warning of catastrophic global consequences. Secretly, U.S. envoys are engaging military leaders in both nations, emphasizing that nuclear war would end both countries. A proposed $10 billion security and economic aid package is on the table if Kashmir is resolved peacefully. Signs of progress are emerging. Nuclear missile units in both nations have reportedly lowered alert levels, and sources in New Delhi suggest India is considering a strategic pause to allow dialogue. Yet, war remains a single misstep away. Can U.S. intervention douse the flames, or is this merely a lull before a global catastrophe? As the world watches South Asia, a fragile hope for peace persists. Relentless diplomacy, late-night calls, and pleas for restraint from global powers show humanity's refusal to surrender to disaster. Every decision now carries the weight of survival. One miscalculation could ignite a firestorm. 70 years of bloodshed remind us that hatred is no foundation for the future. Amid today's smoke and fire, only dialogue, compassion, and goodwill can save millions from catastrophe. The road ahead is fraught, but every step toward peace, however small, lights the way through the darkness. We pray that history's next chapter is not a tragedy of annihilation, but a story of humanity's timely awakening. That concludes tonight's program. Share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to WorldView Today if this is your first time joining us. Thank you for watching.